good morning. We're here for Solving Life's Next Chapter. I'm Sheryl Keeme, Executive Director for Neighbors Who Care. And
I'm Lydia Wietsma with NextHome Elite Realty.
And we are thrilled to have, once again on our show, Tawnya Williams-Christensen, Assisted Living Director of Fellowship Square Mesa. Yes. She's joining us today. And we were fortunate at Neighbors Who Care at our Aging Made Easier conference in January to have Tawnya as one of our speakers. And she was addressing a topic that's really near and dear to me, and that is the need for connection among seniors. Well, among all everybody, humans, yes. But the fact that seniors tend to become more isolated as they age, and how important it is to their mental health and their physical health and their just overall well-being. Yep. So thank you again for joining us today, Tawnya.
Thanks for having me.
So
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about how you approach this in your work, the isolation factor.
So isolation is the number one concern when it comes to all humans, especially from the young kids to all the way to our elderly. Isolation is a huge pandemic. It's just huge. It's a big, big deal. And isolation is so bad for you that it's healthier to smoke 15 cigarettes a day and be an alcoholic.
Wow.
You would be healthier if you had friends smoking and drinking than to be isolated.
And do you think this came up more since COVID, when everybody was locked up at homes? And
I think the topic has come, the positive thing from COVID, the topic of isolation has come to the top because of the COVID pandemic,
right?
Because the things that we did during COVID may not have been our best choice.
Right.
But we've lived and learned through it.
Sure.
Most of us hadn't been through a pandemic prior.
Right.
So there was a lots of learning. My study or my learning through it as an assisted living director, there were some mandates. And I never knew in becoming my path of being an assisted living director that I'd become a warden. And that I would make people stay in places that they weren't wanting to stay.
I never thought about
and
that.
not allowing people in, and all of these things, these mandates put us through. Now, I believe that everybody had best intentions through this.
Right.
I am not getting political in any way.
I don't sense that you are.
I just want everybody to know that isolation is the worst possible thing we can do for any human. And you'll see how kids are more communicating through like text and these apps and things like that. They're not getting together.
Connect.
Like when I was a kid, we went from door to door to door, picked up all our friends. We went to the park, we ran around. Then the lights came on the street, and then we came home before our parents, got worried.
Right.
We spent time all day with our people.
Right.
That's not happening now. People stay in their bedroom. Kids stay in their bedrooms and text, and they don't spend time with their grandparents.
Right.
They don't. We don't connect like we used to. We don't have those Sunday dinners. Most families don't. A lot of families do, but not. It's not a regular event anymore.
Right. Like
it's more of the exception than the rule now.
Right. And the connection is key to every part of our system, our mental system, our mental well-being, our physical well-being, and our emotional well-being. Every single system needs connection because we were wired by our Creator to be connected.
Right.
So regardless of whether somebody's an introvert or an extrovert,
they need
still
connection.
Need that connection.
Now, some extroverts it's easier for them to connect than an introvert, but introverts need connection, maybe 2 to 3 deep connections versus 30 or 50.
Right.
But every single person needs connection because there's that study where, 4 hugs a day gives you sustainability. 8 hugs a day gives you growth, and 12 hugs a day, you actually start thriving and growing and moving. Wow. But you need physical touch every single day. And they say in the research that I've seen that you need 7 to 21 hours per week of socialization to just exist.
Oh my heavens.
And us in the workforce, it's easy for us to get that many hours.
Right.
But for the kids and for our elderly, that's not easy to do.
So when you say socialization, you mean together, like what we're here
Physical
right now.
together.
Okay.
Now, They do say that like a Zoom or a FaceTime is better than nothing.
Okay.
But you don't get the same chemical reaction
Same
in your
benefits,
brain
yeah.
as you do being connected. And also, when you're connected, we're all sharing germs right now.
Right.
That builds your immune system's muscles.
Oh, okay.
So you need to be around people to stay healthy and have your immune system in tip-top shape. It is one of the ways of working out your immune system. Your immune system needs that. Like you bring different environments to
Microbes.
me, and then my immune system is building and doing an exercise right now by
Right.
being with people.
Right.
That doesn't happen when you're on a Zoom.
Right.
Now, the thing that's like Zoom or FaceTime is good because you can see eye to eye, you can see the interactions and that kind of thing, but it still doesn't change your chemical. But it's better than nothing.
You know, during COVID, I'm involved with the Memory Cafe in Sun Lakes, and that is just something that the families just really look forward to. And naturally, we couldn't do that during COVID. So we moved it to Zoom, and we had to do 2 separate Zooms instead of, one session like the normal Memory Cafe works, because the person who was in the support group couldn't do their thing on Zoom and also manage the person that they're living with. Right. And so we did 2 separate ones. But after say 5 or 6 months of doing that, and it was difficult, to be honest, the engagement just really didn't do well, but we continued with it. But then once the vaccines came out, we did a luncheon, and we brought everybody together for the luncheon with masks outside.
Right.
And remember those days?
Yes.
We did a lot of things outside.
Yes.
And oddly, first of all, the people with dementia just came alive, right?
Amen.
They just completely rejuvenated. But interestingly, they had no knowledge or experience from the months before of doing the Zoom. They didn't put it together. When they saw these people, they acted like they hadn't ever laid eyes on them in months, because they didn't put it together that the Zoom that was happening is the same as this people.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just one aspect of it, but I definitely know it's not, a useful tool, but doesn't make up for being together.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So being with people, physical communication, and it can even be just going on a picnic or doing different things that make people feel safer with, because there are, major concerns when getting sick, but the connection is so much more important for all of us to stay in touch with one another. Yeah.
So maybe you have some tactics. So if we're living with somebody, an aging person, or we just have a friendship with somebody, for those of us who are still working, my mom is in Pennsylvania, and she's my only living parent. But my mom's on fire with social, so not a problem there at all. But
does she volunteer?
She does not.
Oh, okay.
I know. We're a little different. But I just want to know maybe some tactics that we can use to encourage socialization without it sounding like we're prescribing something to somebody,
Right. So it's important to come across in a way that you are friendly and being supportive and caring in this. And they have some studies where even they're wanting to start train like EMTs and doctors, asking, how many friends do you have? How much time are you spending with other people? What did you do to type of things like that? So when you go to like a person that you're caring about, hey, who have you spent time with recently? Or things like that, just to kind of see where they are, because you do want to make sure people are being as social as possible, because the socialization is key to your health.
Right.
Also offering, if you're able to, in connection with someone, hey, I was wondering if you wanted to go to the farmer's market with me. I'm going to come pick you up at 8 on Saturday, or something like that, where you just make it a very easy. Yes.
Just invite
That's
them.
really simple.
And we at one time in our lives did that very easily, and things have kind of changed with different technology. Like we all maybe are all connected on Facebook or Instagram or something like that.
Right.
That doesn't do the same thing for your chemicals in your body to feel connected. So sometimes those things seem like a really great thing, where you feel like I'm keeping up with this one and this one, but you're really not calling on the phone and saying, hey, I'm gonna, or when someone is not feeling well, I'm going to drop off some airborne or whatever it is. I hope you feel better.
Right.
Just connecting with people in person is super important. And I feel like you live by example. So by you going and saying, hey, I'm going to stop by and do this, and maybe there's some resistance, things like that.
Sure.
that's okay, but softly in time, you'll be able to get to that connection.
Right.
It doesn't happen right away, especially for people who've learned to live in an isolated way. There's a lot of anxiety and type of things.
Yeah.
And like we say, go often to different events or go often to different free type things where you can just spend time together. 5 minutes of interaction with a person can change their chemicals for 48 hours.
Oh my
Wow,
goodness.
that's
5 minutes.
interesting.
And so like I talked about the story at the conference where my daughter and I, we do groceries, about every 2 weeks. And there was this little gentleman putting his groceries and he was kind of holding up the line and there were people behind us getting very, frustrated. Well, my daughter went over and helped him get the groceries to help relieve the line.
Right.
But that few minutes that she spent time with him has benefits to his health for the next 48 hours.
Right.
And you don't have to spend 20 hours with someone. You can spend an hour with them and it is a cascade effect of really helps your health emotionally, spiritually, and physically.
We make things a lot harder.
We make things
than they
more
have to be,
complicated.
right?
Yep.
And, like I remember the days where we just knocked on doors all day long. Well, now we have Ring camera and different things.
Right.
And people don't answer the door anymore and people don't talk back and forth.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things need to come back into the world to make people feel connected again.
So as far as your connection that you had spoken at the conference, you talked a lot about volunteering.
Yes.
Tell us how that affects, especially in the senior industry.
Yes. So when I first came to know how important volunteering is I was very young, went through a major breakup, and my mother said the best way to heal yourself is to serve others. Well, when
Smart woman.
Yep.
30 years later, when I'm doing research on figuring out what's best for the people I serve,
Right.
all the research, every researcher agrees. Every single researcher agrees that serving others, being connected with others, saves lives. You live longer, you heal yourself. So a lot of times when I volunteered, I'm feeling like I'm going to help someone.
Right.
Right.
When I leave that day, I've been helped.
Right.
My life is inspired. My life is encouraged and better.
Thank you so much for saying that, Tawnya.
And every volunteer that volunteers
Yeah.
will be healthier. Your life is better when you volunteer because you're serving others. And in seniors or in the aging, typically they're out of the workforce.
Right.
And so their socialization diminishes.
Right.
And the simplest, easiest way to get back on track with your life socially and to help heal yourself and give yourself the best chance possible to live the best possible life is to volunteer for organizations that you believe in.
Right.
And organizations make it pretty easy to say, hey, I'd like to volunteer. This is where my scope of skills are. How can I be of help?
Right.
Right.
And typically volunteers go into the situation thinking they're going to be the one that helps someone
else.
Absolutely.
However, they are blessed 2, 3, 4, 5 times fold by doing that. And your health is better. Spiritually, physically, and mentally, you are better. You are healthier by doing that. And just helping someone else, you do get a chemical effect that strengthens
you don't
your
do
body.
it for that, but it's a natural
Right, but I want
byproduct
people
of
to
it.
know that
Absolutely.
there is a major payoff. Just because you're not getting, a money payment, you are getting a health payment.
Absolutely.
In a huge amount. So I just encourage people to volunteer as much as possible
Thank you.
based on their purpose that their creator put in their hearts. And with purpose, you live happier.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You live
I'm going to take
sustainable.
an opportunity to say how easy it is to volunteer for Neighbors Who
sounds
Care.
great.
So the one thing that we pride ourselves on at Neighbors Who Care is just how easy it is and flexible. So a lot of times you have to sign up for a certain time or date or whatever. We have volunteer opportunities from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, every day of the week. And folks who sign up can choose whatever. We have 13 different services. And if they only want to do one of those to help, they're
Perfect.
We're happy with that. And we will never ask them to do the things that they don't want to do.
Right.
Perfect.
And so, and also people who say someone who chooses to help people by driving them to the doctors as a transportation volunteer, they can literally not even have contact like having us call them all the time. They can go onto our website, look around and see where the different
Where the
places are
openings
going.
are. Yep.
Like maybe they only want to drive to Chandler, and they can look at the at requests, and the ones that go to Chandler, they can pick one of those. Or some of our folks like to drive long distance, and they see someone has to go to Mayo Clinic or somewhere in Phoenix, and then they have a full hour or so in the car, and they make friends that way.
Beautiful.
So or not. Or they're in the car for 5 minutes and they go home. You know, it's really the way it is. There's just so many different opportunities. But I just felt I would be remiss
Yes.
in not
great.
bringing that up and saying
what
how
a healthy
easy
resource.
it is. Absolutely.
Healthy resource. Such a beautiful way of doing it, because that does take away the fear of feeling like, well, once I give a little, then they're going to want more.
That's right.
So that's such a beautiful way of doing
We
things.
definitely value their time and their and
a lot
respect
of
them.
times they become friends with these people. Like they become,
Absolutely.
This is like a new, a next chapter of having a group of friends that they
Right.
never would have had.
And with Neighbors Who Care and some other like hospitals, they have events for their volunteers from time to time.
Okay.
So the volunteers in our community may make friends with other volunteers at one of these events. So it's another way to connect as
connect
as well.
and be
Yes.
social.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a lot of volunteers? Do you provide volunteering opportunities where you work at your community?
Yes. So providing purpose is our focus in helping people live a healthy life. So we provide purpose at every level of our community, from independent to memory care.
Wow.
I have residents in memory care that volunteer their time at different things that are important to them.
That's
What would
fantastic.
that be? What would something be in a memory care?
So
versus-
sometimes this will come across a little controversial.
Okay.
Because people pay quite a bit of money to live in memory care, right? And so sometimes you'll see a resident setting the table.
Okay.
And sometimes people come to me, why would you have a resident set the table? They're paying to live here.
Right.
Because that person feels important setting the table.
Right.
That's their purpose. Sometimes it's folding napkins. Sometimes it's just different things that's important to them.
And especially in memory care, I would think you would want them to do those things just for the fact that they can still remember to do them.
and,
Be engaged.
and create the purpose in them that makes them more comfortable, create that they are important. Because a lot of times in memory care, which is a difficult disease,
Yes.
the idea of keeping them as comfortable as possible is important. So a lot of our ladies had a certain muscle memory of, this is what I do at this time, this is what I do at this
Right.
time. And we want to make and create independence in them for as long as we possibly
Absolutely.
can.
I
So
think
different
it's
chores
great.
like that.
Yeah.
Keeping up the garden, those types of things are super important.
You guys have a garden?
Yeah, stand-up gardens.
Okay.
Yeah.
We grow our own food and things like that.
Nice.
But we also have lots of flowers and things.
Sure.
And, I have one resident, she loves to take like deadhead. And if I didn't have these residents with these types of purposes that, God gave them, I would have to pay someone to take care of these
Sure.
things.
Right.
But they're benefiting me and I'm benefiting them. So
Right.
it's a reciprocal relationship. And that chemical cascade helps both of us.
Right. And so it's just education. If you say it's
Yes.
controversial, it's just people are used to, like, they give for this
Being served.
service and then they be served.
Right.
So, but this is actually a good way of helping them. And that's the
living.
whole purpose, right?
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
So awesome.
That's great.
Well, we appreciate that you have this focus on isolation, and we want everyone to know about it, and ways to have these conversations with our loved ones that we see withdrawing, whatever reason it is. Sometimes it's not a cognition issue. Sometimes someone's physical health is
Right.
starting
Right.
to wane, and it's just they feel like it's such a hassle to take them anywhere because they have a walker. Or they have
Right.
it's not.
Right.
And, we want to connect with them as much as we did whenever everybody was young and healthy, right?
Right.
So we want to make that happen, and
Yeah.
it's great that
And-
you're doing that at your work.
Caregivers also isolate. So when you have a person in the home that you're caring for, the caregiver tends to isolate because they don't feel like they can go.
Right.
So, and I'm a caregiver for my husband, and there's times where I've went through that. So
Right.
it's important to be supportive of the caregiver as well.
Absolutely.
And say,
Absolutely.
hey, I would like to spend time with your person, and I'm going to take care of him. Why don't you go with Sally and Sue to the farmer's market or to church or wherever?
Right.
So there is some socialization, and that chemical cascade helps the caregiver. So
Huge.
caregivers
Right.
are also a major concern.
Caregivers are probably one of the biggest. I mean, they're always helping other people and they don't take time for themselves
Right.
typically. So
What's funny is a lot of caregivers don't like see themselves as caregiver.
Correct.
This is just
Correct.
my husband or this is just my
Correct.
wife.
Right.
But that's a different role.
But the life changes when you
Yes.
become a caregiver or a caregiver to someone you love. And instead of keeping it a secret, it's really good to explain your truth
Sure.
and get the support and have some socialization.
Yep. It's just, we have to rethink, especially nowadays when we've got 12,000 baby boomers turning
Yes.
65
Yes,
every day
every
in
single
the
day.
year of 2024.
Unreal.
I mean, it's, you know, those people that are turning 65 probably have parents in their 80s.
Absolutely.
And so all of this is really important for people at any age, but specifically for 50s and 60s on
Yes,
up.
yes.
I mean, I think volunteering in any of that capacity of age range is important.
I agree. It just
I
adds
totally
to your
agree.
And
quality of
just
life.
the education of it's okay if mom is living in a community where, you know, they have offered food, but she wants to set the table for everybody.
Right.
That is her purpose.
Right.
And that will make her feel important. And
Right.
that's what we, as a society, we need to take those walls and barriers down and just say, it's okay for mom to set the table for
Right.
10 people today.
Right.
You know,
Because
so-
that creates purpose.
Absolutely.
And purpose creates healing.
Right.
I like that. What is that again?
Finding something in somebody that's important to them, creating purpose.
Creating purpose.
And purpose creates healing.
Purpose creates healing. That's a good slogan.
That
I
is a
like
good
it.
slogan.
We just made that up.
Yes, I'm going to use that.
But creating
You're going to
purpose,
see it on the next Neighbors Who Care newsletter.
creating purpose creates healing. It's very,
That's right.
very,
And
very
it
true.
really does. I mean,
really
at all
does.
ages. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining us,
Thank you.
Tanya.
How fun. Great information.
We hope to have you back in the future.
Hey.
And we will be sharing this with our audience very soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tanya.